Look at how much it's stretched, and it's still going. Isn't this unbelievable?
This is incredible. It's like latex.
Yeah. And you really can see through it.
And we have a tremendous amount that's hanging over the side of the table as well.
That's the thicker part, and you'll see we're going to get rid of that part.
Now we have a couple of holes here, and they're okay?
Yes. In fact, this is part of strudel making. If you don't have any holes, it means that the strudel dough is tough.
Okay. Oh.
So don't feel proud that you pulled it without a single hole.
Holes are good.
But the thing is, you don't have to worry about the holes, because you'll see when we wrap it, there are going to be so many layers that the holes will be covered. And now we're taking the clarified butter, and clarified butter is good because it doesn't end up putting wet spots on the dough. Thank you. But yeah, it will help a great. You know, I'd like to invite you to always be with me in the kitchen.
It'd be a lot of fun.
When it comes to strudel making, this is why it's an old-time thing, that people used to do it together, and it was a very nice activity for mothers and daughters and friends. This is when people were never alone in the kitchen. Now, the reason I say clarified is better, I was mentioning, is that there's no water in clarified butter. But if you simply want to melt the butter and just let all the solids and water go to the bottom, you just use the upper part, and it's no problem. Now see, we're just getting rid of the outside part of the dough. You know, if you don't have a round table, you can do it on a rectangular table. It's just so easy to do it on the standard round table. Thank you.
Collecting.
And if you don't have one, you can even get one of those folding bridge tables that are exactly 48 inches. Instead of having the usual thickening that fruit pies have, which is cornstarch, Austrians use the breadcrumbs, which is called Brüssel. And they're just breadcrumbs that have been sauteed in some melted butter, and it's much less heavy than a cornstarch thickener. So you just spread out a little rectangular patch, and then put your apples and walnuts on top. And that's been mixed with sugar. You can use any filling that you want. But when you let it sit with the sugar, some of the water comes out. Don't use the water.
Okay, how about
we'll put this in one of the holes. It'll be a place for it to sit.
How about any fillings like cheeses, cream cheese fillings, or?
I do a cherry cream cheese filling as well. I don't like an old cherry because I find it's a little bit too intense. Certain fruits are too strong to use just by themselves, but you know, they do savory strudels too. Strudel making really began was a way to use up, in an interesting way, you know, the various parts of fruits that weren't being used for something else.
Now, do the breadcrumbs also act not only as a binder, but do they absorb some of the moisture to help keep the strudel from getting soggy?
Do. Yes.
Yeah.
And the thing is that you can make strudel ahead and put it in the refrigerator, but you can't bake it ahead because then it gets soggy. You bring it right up to the top, just leaving a little bit of overlap.
Just making a little envelope.
And if you need to, you can even use the tablecloth to help you lift it.
Ah.
And now for every layer, we need to dabble it with more butter.
More butter.
And you see, this is the fun and easy part, because you've stretched the dough, you know it's going to be wonderful, and the rolling part is really easy. So
yeah, I don't feel so bad about this. I mean, this is...
wait, you'll see those holes will be covered in a flash.
And it's not...
It's
not very neat. I mean, you know what I mean?
It doesn't like my usual exacting ways of doing things.
It doesn't have to be very tidy, which is nice. You know, it kind of takes the pressure off that it has to be so perfect. And rolling right along. You've got a fair amount of dough that's just kind of on the side here.
Well, this is an important thing. I'm glad you mentioned that, because you need it to make sure that the filling doesn't leak out. But afterwards, the end pieces are the pieces that have all the dough, and that's not what you want to serve. You want to serve the pieces that have the filling in.
Right.
So you just end up cutting off those two parts of the dough, but don't throw them out, because there's always somebody who would love to have just plain strudel dough. But we're going to need this for the pan.
Okay.
And now we use the tablecloth to transfer it to the pan. So, Amy, please just dabble some butter down the middle of the pan.
A little butter.
And this is right now on top, but we want it to become the bottom. So we're going to use the tablecloth to just transfer it right over to the pan.
Well, that's about as easy as it gets, Rose.
See, I've just tucked the ends under. Those are the ends that I was talking about. And make a few steam vents so it doesn't burst.
A little more butter.
So it'll be beautiful and golden.
Now, how long will that bake for? And give us all those goodies.
This goes in at 400 degrees in the upper part of the oven. And it's going to bake for 35 minutes. And
this is
now,
exciting.
Isn't it? And just wait until you smell it baking.
Okay, so you're off to the oven.